Hi, so my name's Justin Torres. I'm from the Los Angeles area. I work for the Coalition for Engaged Education, where I work with 14 to 24-year-olds that are formerly incarcerated. Yeah, so this is my first California Naturalist conference. I got my naturalist certification at the beginning of the pandemic, and my organization gives me a lot of liberty to have influence over my programming. So I love taking my students out camping, out hiking, just learning about nature, learning about the plants, the indigenous peoples of the land, and just how to be in respect with the land, and also how to process their trauma as well as their way forward through nature. This is like the first conference I had ever heard of. I just got the email and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go, and like I saw representation of people that like look like me, talk like me, and were talking about subjects that matter to me. It's been a really good experience. Within like my community and within the people that I know and grew up with, like it seems like all of us are getting into this quote unquote like naturalist certification, into nature and like environmental conservation all at the same time, based off of our like kind of our roots, what we grew up with. We saw our families really interested in gardening and just like the preservation of the land, recycling, doing all the things that we do as like brown folk. So I feel like a lot of us are very like new and green to the fields, and we see like our white counterparts who have kind of either grew up with this or have generations who have being a professor or being like some sort of scientist, biologist, what have you, and they grew up with it, or they knew a family member, or they had a neighbor who was able to get a job doing this, and we didn't grow up with that, so we're just kind of paving the way in a lot of ways for our own community. And that's what I do specifically. I take all this super rich knowledge that I'm learning here at the Naturalist Conference and just all my other adventures, just trying to grasp onto all of it, learn all of it for the first time, and bring it back to my youth who can benefit from it. But that's something that I've noticed and I see is like, I wish that growing up, like I could have just focused on one thing. I could have like I'm gonna be a scientist, and of course we all say that when we're little. But then, when we want to go and like make our communities better, we have this like we have this guilt of like leaving people behind. So we can't take those opportunities fully to get to these super high levels because we're holding people's hands. And yeah, it's hard. So we're paving the way for like future generations to be able to do that, even though we weren't able to do that. I want the younger people like that I work with and in my communities to be able to just get up and be a scientist, be a biologist, just focus on that and not have to focus on the trauma, the violence, racism, and all that. I think, nature is one of the greatest teachers about just coexisting. I always teach that to my youth. A lot of my youth are gang involved, and I teach them, that nature's been here for so many years, millions of years, and the way that it's managed to survive and being strong and resilient is by supporting itself and supporting its own ecosystem, and that we can learn from that. I show them a broken tree. Look, this tree's burned, this tree's broken. It's infested with these bugs, but what's it doing? It's growing with itself and with other trees. And I'll start to touch on like mycelial networks and how the trees use these mycelial networks to help each other out, to give each other the resources that it needs. And then I bridge that to how humans are nature. We aren't separate from it. So we have to look to it as our teacher, as something that's carried on this knowledge all throughout time.